Are we okay, or do we just say we're okay? You know, somebody asks us how you doing, we automatically say, good. How have you been? Good. You know, but are you really good, or are you just saying it? Nobody knows what mental state somebody's in. Nobody knows the mental state anyone's in. And that's the thing. People criticize one another, bully one another. Meanwhile, they don't sit back and think what that poor person could be going through, what any of us could be going through. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. You know, some people put out a fake smile just to try to, I guess, go with the flow. You know, this is like when you hear when people, you know, self-delete themselves. You get a lot of people, like family, be like, I can't believe he or she would do that. He seemed like such a happy person, such a fun, joking around type of person. And then for him to do that, like, he shocked us all. But that's the thing, because nobody truly knows what's going on in somebody's mind. Nobody truly knows what's going on. You know, a lot of us just say we're doing good when meanwhile we may not be, you know. I guess it's just, we'd like to keep it small talk. Hey, what's going on, man? Good, yeah, you know, and that's it. The person just keeps walking, they carry on, you know, you're probably never going to see that person ever again, that type of attitude, I guess, you know. And that's just what it is that society really does. The way we live isn't really healthy like we think it is. You know, people say an idle mind is the devil's playground, you know, like it's a terrible, you know, the human mind's a terrible thing to waste or whatever. But the thing is, we're just always stressed out. We're always putting our mind on stress. Instead of doing something you enjoy, instead of doing something that makes you feel good, you're doing something that you have no choice but to do. Whether you feel good doing it or not, it's something that you need to do. And people think staying busy, keeping busy is good for your mind. It is, but doing something you'd want to maybe do, not something you're being pressured to do. Because that's stress is the number one killer. They say stress can kill you. And who today isn't stressed out? Look at what life is. Everything getting more expensive. You having to work harder. Everything today is stressful. Everything just gets more and more stressful. Everything just gets more challenging. Nothing gets easier. It feels like it just gets harder, unfortunately. And that's the thing. And this is where it goes, where some people just can't take the pressure anymore and they go over the edge. You know, but in the meantime, when you last talk to that person, they'll be like, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there, you know, shit like that. Meanwhile, that could all be lies. Nobody truly knows how somebody's doing. You know, people aren't truthful with that type of thing. And I guess the reason really is, and I'm just guessing, I'm not saying I know the reason, but I mean, there's a whole, you know, it varies to each person, but some people just probably don't want to express how they feel because who knows what people may think of them, or maybe some people right away going to be like, well, now you're going to, you know, send me to help, or, you know, who knows what people think, you know, like, so I guess they just keep it to themselves, but sometimes they can't bear with the pain anymore. And then that's when they do it. And the sucky part is you don't know that they were going through that, where you could have tried to help the person, but I guess they didn't want to go through that. I don't know, you know, it's just, it's a crazy world, man. You know, it's like people treat each other like shit. Nothing new, of course. People bully one another in school. You know, it's just, there's just so much horrible things you hear in life. And then you wonder why people choose that route. You know, it's sad. It's sad. We deserve so much better. You know, we really do. But it's just, we live in a world where we have ignorant people walking the faces of the street. You know, we have we have ignorant people more than we have intelligent people, I guess you could say. You know, everywhere you go, you see an ignorant idiot. When you're driving, you're always going to run into an asshole. I'm sure everyone here can relate here when you're at a traffic light and the light just turned green, like literally just turned green, someone already behind you honks the horn when it just turned green. Like you're ready to go and yet the person still already honked the horn. You know, this is what I mean. You just have stupid people all around. And it makes things worse for the intelligent people, for the, you know, just the common sense people, you know, just the common sense people, that we got to be surrounded by jackasses. And it's bad. It's annoying. Life sucks enough, and we got to make the pain worse. People got to make the pain worse. You go to work, your coworker could be a dick. Or you go to school, one of your classmates could be a dick, a bully, just an asshole, whatever. Or just whatever. And, you're already struggling from something, whether it's mental illness, health problems, whatever. And then people just got to make your life more of a living hell. It's sad. It's really sad. And with all this being said, I don't know how anyone could be okay with the way life is today. I don't know how anyone could just say, it's cool. I don't know how anyone could just accept that this, I know we have no choice, but it's like we agree to accept it. Why? Because we have kids. We keep starting life over again, basically. We have kids and then we raise them into this shithole. And it's like, I don't know how people just accept this shit, I understand you have no choice. You got to work. You got to do this. You got to do that. But you get so many people that just see nothing wrong with it. Don't waste your life away. Meanwhile, that's all we're doing is wasting our life away being miserable. Instead of being happy, instead of enjoying, instead of just having fun. You're here limitedly. You're not here forever. You're here temporarily. Live it up. No, we're just trying to take it day to day. We're trying to take it day to day. That's all we're doing. We're not living. This isn't living. I don't see how this is living. This is just trying to survive. This is just trying to make ends meet. This is just, like I always love to keep saying, trying to keep our head above water type thing. That's all it is. We're just trying to keep our head above water. I don't see what's so fun about that. I don't see anything fun about that. I'm sick of this. I'm going under the water. It's to the point where we have no choice. Some of us can no longer keep our head above water. The bills are just too much. We can't afford it. We're drowning. We're literally drowning. It's just, there's no oxygen, man. You got to pay for damn oxygen or else that water's going to drown you and you have no oxygen. Nobody here wants to be treated like crap. Nobody here wants to be picked on. Nobody here wants to be criticized or belittled. So why is it okay to do it to somebody else? You don't want that. I know I don't want that. Who the hell does want that? Nobody wants that. But yet, it's okay for somebody to do that to somebody else. Bully that kid. Bully this person. Criticize him. Whatever. You don't want that to happen to you. So why do you want to, why do people get joy out of doing it to other people? Is somebody's life that miserable that they got to make somebody else's life miserable along with them? Me, no matter how depressed I am or miserable I am, I wouldn't want to bring somebody down because nobody deserves that. I don't want no one to bully me. So why would I want to go out and bully someone else knowing I wouldn't want that to happen to me? No one wants these type of things to happen, but yet it happens. It's crazy. We're all here together, but we don't work together. We don't try to work together and help one another out and do whatever it takes to survive. Instead, we try to be better than someone. Like I always love to say, it's all about competition, competing, who's better than who makes more money than who's richer than who has nicer things than who. Instead of just all working as a team, getting things done for the sake of humanity, it's all just for money. It's all just for money. We have no sympathy for one another. Hooray for me, the hell with you. That's what it's all about. It's sad. It's evil. It's just such a disgusting existence, and we're the reason why it's so disgusting. I don't just blame life. I don't just blame life itself. It's humanity that mainly makes life the way it is. It's not like I'm saying the planet itself sucks. It's the society of what became about that makes it suck. You know? A lot of people say nature is peaceful. It is to some degree, but even nature could be cruel. That I will agree to. Even animals are assholes towards each other. Every living thing, I guess, is an asshole towards each other in one way or another. But all I can say is we're the only stupid living things that pay bills, that use money for things. You don't see any other living thing doing that. They work together to try to, survive. True survival. They do what it takes to survive. It's like, for example, geese, baby geese or whatever. The mother does whatever it takes to take care of them, feed them, hunt. That's what animals do. Us, it's the other way around. We do it all for the sake of money. That's the only way we do it, is because we're getting money for it. Which I can understand. We all want to get paid to work, obviously, because who wants to work, period? We're doing it because we need money. Animals do it for survival. People think we're doing it for survival, which we are, for money. But instead, we could be maybe doing the same thing animals do. Let's say money wasn't a thing. I made a video about this many years ago, maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago, how we're doing what we're doing, but instead of getting money, we're doing it for the sake of caring for one another. But that's the thing. It's not really that. All we're looking at it as is for this. If money didn't exist, how I look at it as, and it's just my opinion, if money, let's say, didn't exist, we could still be working the way we are, but for survival, true survival. Just like the animals do whatever it takes for survival. They don't pay bills. They don't pay nothing. They don't pay for food. They hunt for food. Well, that's how I guess it have to be. I'm not saying this is the way it should be or shouldn't be. I mean, it sucks at all. When you really think about it, it sucks no matter what. It sucks no matter what. But I feel, at least in my opinion, money makes things more harder, more complicated, because people starve if they don't have money. Nobody deserves to starve. Nobody deserves to be out in the streets in the cold and the heat. These are certain things where money shouldn't matter, at least, There should be certain things where money shouldn't matter, and that's where it shouldn't matter. You shouldn't have to starve because of money. You shouldn't have to be out in the horrible elements because of, That I just don't feel is right. It gets too much. It gets too overrated. It just gets too much. To the point where, like I've said, they can't even save your life because you don't have insurance. You don't have money for it. When they easily can save your life, but they just choose not to because of this. And this is going off topic, but I always love bringing that up. It's sad. This is the existence we live in. I mean, it sucks hunting too. I got to be straightly honest. Like, some people say you can live off the grid. You can go in the woods, in the wilderness, and that sucks too. I don't know which is worse. Life itself, I feel, does suck because you got to survive. It's all about survival more than enjoying here. It's all about survival. You got to do whatever it takes to stay alive. Just like that's what we're doing money-wise. We're doing whatever job we can that makes the most money so we could pay our stupid bills that never stop, pay for food, and, so much more. And then survival-wise, you got to do whatever it takes to survive. You got to hunt for prey. You got to hunt for food. And whatever you could hunt and eat to try and live. So, it sucks both ways, in my opinion, which is probably a fact. But it's like, I guess you could say life itself sucks no matter what. Because things got to get done. Things in life, unfortunately, got to get done. We need to, unfortunately, work because how will things get accomplished? But all we work for is money instead of just working for survival. I mean, it sucks both ways. At least how I look at it. I don't know. I'm confusing myself a little. Some people think an animal's life is easier, but really, who knows if that's true to some degree. Some people think it's easier because they don't pay bills, which is great, but they gotta, like I said, they gotta hunt for their food. And we gotta work for our food money-wise, It's like life itself just sucks no matter what. Let's just narrow it down to that, without making it any more complicated. Life itself sucks. It's like it's just better off not ever being born, period. We're here and now this is the shit we got to do. But money just makes things more harder because everything keeps getting more expensive. What used to cost this, why couldn't it just at least stay to that price? Why can't, this price remain? Why does this price got to jump higher? Why does the water flow got to keep, why can't we just stay at a range and not overdo it? Why do we got to make, it's like the system's trying to make us self-delete ourselves. That's how I look at it as. They want to prevent, the suicide rates and all, but how are you going to prevent it by making life the way it is, making everything more expensive, making everything more complicated, more challenging? It's just promoting it, sadly, to increase because everything's getting harder. People are stressed out more than ever, and some people just crack like an egg. They can only handle so much until they just can't take it anymore. Some people are stronger than others. Some people aren't. Some people give quicker. Some eggs crack quicker than other eggs, And I'm not trying to say that, like, to say what a weak person, but, and today, the way life is, I'm surprised you don't hear it more about people cracking. Although you kind of are hearing it. Mass shootings, look at all the shit that's going on. All this shit that's going on has a lot to probably do with the way life is. People are just going crazy. Everything's just gone to pot. It's like the world gone mad. And it's a whole domino effect of why. It's sad, man. The animals that I do feel like are lucky in some sort of way are dogs and cats. But then again, some of them may be unlucky because they may have a piece of shit owner that may abuse them or not take care of them the way they should be. But if that animal lucked out with a good owner, that animal's lit, But it's just, life is hard at every way form. A lot of people say live off the grid, but that's not easy either, man. I mean, maybe some people could handle it better. Everyone's different. Some people be like, I love living that way. Not everyone can relate and agree, though. Me, I mean, I wouldn't like it. I hate the way life is now, but I don't know which is worse, going off the grid or living in the system. It's both. It's both torment, at least how I look at it, because you got to hunt, you got to look. I mean, what kind of life is that? That sucks too. It's just, this is where I say I feel trapped. I'm trapped in a world that I just can't stand. And there's really nothing, there is nothing I can do about it. I could go off the grid. Anyone could go off the grid. But not, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. People could live like animals, believe it or not. But that's what basically living off the grid is. Being like an animal, being like a caveman, I guess you could say, well, just animals, birds, squirrels, cheetah, cheetah, whatever, a tiger, like a bear, things like that. I mean, you could have that same life, I guess, but I don't see what's fun about it, You got to hunt for food. It's hard. You got to know what's safe to eat, what's not safe, and how do you cook it? You got to make a fire. It's hard shit. I'd be honest, I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing. I'd probably die the first day. I probably wouldn't be able to survive that the first day. But then you got people that are good in the wilderness. They know how to start a fire. You got very intelligent people that can do these certain things that other people can't do. But they say, I'm doing just fine, doesn't mean we can do it too. It's hard. Not everyone wants to live like that. Just like that show Naked and Afraid, where they do that. They go a certain amount of time in the wilderness to test their survival instincts, I guess. But I couldn't do that. I wouldn't want to do that. They got to know what's safe in the woods to eat, what trees you could eat berries or whatever you find that's safe to eat and what's not safe, It's like, I don't know which is worse, living in the money version of life or living off the grid. How I look at it as, and this is just my opinion, I feel like they're both torture in different ways. Like they both suck, but I don't know if one's worse than the other. I don't know. I mean, they're both bad to me. I hate them both, but I guess maybe I'd rather just live on the grid than off the grid, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it sucks no matter what. This is where I say we're twisted by the balls either way. But anyway, people, it's starting to get dark. I'm going to wrap it up for now. Hope people enjoyed the video. Sorry if I made some parts in the video a little confusing, but, you know, I'm just trying to express what's on my mind, man. I try to talk about different things. I try to season it a little differently as best as possible. But, you know, anyway, I'm going to call it a night for now, guys. Love you all, man. Take it easy. Take care of your mental health, seriously. No, I'm not trying to imitate Drew Carey at the end of although he says that at the end, you know, make sure your mental health is okay, you know, which is true, you know. Take care of yourself. I love you all, man. You know, you guys show me the love, and in return, I love you. I appreciate the support, you know, that the channel's been getting, the subscribers and everything's been doing a lot better. Like it's been flying. I'm almost to 20,000, and I just literally, I think, got to 17, and we're already almost to 18. So, like, you know, I truly can't thank you all enough for that, you know. I really can't. And I appreciate the super thanks that you guys send. Of course, you guys don't have to unless you want to. That's one thing I never do like other YouTubers. Hey guys, make sure you rate the video a thumbs up and hit that or smash that subscribe button and turn the notification. You know, I never say that once in my videos. If you want to do it, you do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. I let the choice be up to you, you know. I'm not trying to be like a hungry horse saying, hit this, you know. But anyway, like I said, thank you all enough, man. I appreciate the support and love. And yeah, I'm going to be signing off for now. Love you all, guys. Take it easy.